Elon Musk is undoubtedly the most ambitious millionaire when it comes to large-scale projects. Most of his ideas sound unattainable and therefore somewhat questionable to most people. But if you've seen our previous videos, you know that he does not just come up with crazy concepts out of the blue, like building a civilization on Mars, but has thought-out plans and legitimate arguments. And today, we have another big SpaceX project to discuss. The Starship is on track to go even further, and Elon Musk is doing just that by finally unveiling the new 18-meter-wide Starship 2.0. One example of this is the Starship, a fully reusable launch vehicle with a height of 120 meters, 9 meters higher than the Saturn V. The Raptor and Raptor vacuum engines power both stages, whose bodies are made of stainless steel. The design is flexible because SpaceX manufactures the spacecraft as part of the operational testing, rather than testing each component individually. Consequently, prototypes are flown directly. A Starship launch is expected to be capable of delivering 100 tons of payload to low Earth orbit in a fully reusable configuration. Starship can carry payloads to higher Earth orbits, the Moon, Mars, and other destinations in the solar system by refueling the spacecraft with additional Starship tankers. The rocket will be capable of launching any space cargo, be it humans or satellites. Mars colonization is a goal that Elon Musk has repeatedly mentioned over the years as one of the main objectives of the spacecraft. You can learn more about this in our previous video. Musk argues that a Martian metropolis of millions could be self-sustaining. Without taking into account the population growth, at least 10,000 spaceships with the crew and 100,000 spaceships with cargo would be required, which is certainly a challenge, but fortunately, Elon does not back away from such difficulties. Thus, he said that 1 million tons of cargo will be delivered to Mars. SpaceX has also officially stated that the company intends to mass-produce spacecraft and fly them to other parts of the solar system. The company's Mars program has been delayed several times, contradicting Musk's optimistic expectations. But that does not mean it will not happen. It just means that even with the most advanced technology mankind has ever had, we still have to take our time and reach our goals in small steps. And despite these obstacles, they already have some ideas on how to solve the stubborn fuel problem. A power-to-gas plant on Mars could use the Sabatier reaction to produce liquid methane and liquid oxygen that could be used to power return flights. In this reaction, carbon dioxide and hydrogen are applied to a catalyst under high pressure at temperatures of over 375 Celsius. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas can be extracted from the Martian atmosphere and ice using nickel, ruthenium, or another transition metal as a catalyst. The process is inefficient in terms of energy consumption, and it requires a complex thermal control system, and the resulting methane must be filtered before use. It will certainly be harder than it sounds, but with further planning, all this could be achieved. But to make this kind of breakthrough, the Starship design must be further revised using data from real-world testing, and that's what SpaceX has been hard at work on. After earlier versions in which certain components of the design were incrementally improved, the SN8 prototype was the first full Starship prototype. Between October and November of 2020, the vehicle underwent 4 static fire tests, all of which resulted in damage to the launch pad. During the third test, pieces of material from the pad were absorbed into the interior of the engine, resulting in a premature shutdown. But not to worry, the fourth test went well, and on December 9, 2020, SN8 rose up into the air and reached an altitude of 12.5 kilometers before performing the belly landing maneuver. Just before landing, SN8 righted itself vertically again and attempted to land, but due to a fuel supply problem, it hit the runway at a high speed and self-destructed. Spacecraft SN9 launched 2 months later on a nearly similar trajectory. It landed with a thud. Both flights, the SN8 and SN9, were investigated by the FAA because debris from the explosion endangered the surrounding area. Since then, the company submitted a public development proposal that included 2 suborbital launch pads, 2 orbital launch pads, 2 landing pads, 2 prototype test pads, and a huge fuel storage tank. The company also proposed to transform Boca Chica Village into a metropolis called Starbase, which would serve as a suitable location for all development and testing from then on. The SN12, SN13, and SN14 modules were not fully assembled. SN15, on the other hand, featured a number of changes to the vehicle's design, software, and engines. On May 5, 2021, the vehicle rose into the air and performed the same maneuvers as earlier prototypes before landing, completing its first successful mission. According to Musk, the next-generation system, dubbed Starship 2.0, would be twice the size of the ship that will carry personnel and cargo to the Moon and Mars. Musk was responding to a question from one of his many Twitter followers. The latter wanted to know if Musk planned to build a larger version of the spacecraft in the future that would be closer to the original concept. In the meantime, the Super Heavy booster element will be at least 70 meters high and develop a force of up to 90,000 kilonewtons. This will be provided by the 30 Raptor engines optimized for sea level operation and 7 Raptor engines designed for vacuum operation. According to Musk's latest details, the Starship 2.0 will be twice as large and about 240 meters high and 18 meters wide. Eric Ralph at Teslarati points out that accounting for the area and volume that this diameter entails leads to some startling results. You get 8 times the area and volume of the propellant tank if you double the height and width of the rocket. This means that the launch vehicle would have to be 8 times as heavy as the Starship 1.0 and could generate 8 times as much thrust. However, the height of SpaceX Super Heavy Starship 2.0 could be limited, according to Tovra Vashini on Twitter. The height of the rocket is limited by the thrust per area. This could indicate that the capacity of the SpaceX Super Heavy Starship 2.0 will be very similar to that of the Sea Dragon. Although Starship 2.0 would require 4 times the number of engines, perhaps 120 to 150 Raptors for the new Super Heavy, and 24 for Starship 2.0. The structure would only require twice the amount of steel and twice the amount of heat shields. Welding and ring stacking would also double, but by the time Mk2 goes into production, these operations will be largely automated. So a Starship 2.0 could be much cheaper than 4 of its predecessors. Not half as expensive, but certainly not 4 times as expensive. The Raptor engines currently cost over $2 million each, but Elon expects the price to drop to $200,000 in the near future. Another reason for such monstrous spacecraft could be that Mars requires 600-ton payloads that are difficult to break down into 150-ton chunks. Iron ore excavators and steel mills with large boilers and rolling mills will be needed if the colony is to become self-sufficient in the long run. These are the things that are difficult to break down into smaller loads. The payload's bay 9-meter diameter already presents a challenge for some of the items the Mars colony might need in the future. By transporting between spaceports on Earth, the vehicle could handle point-to-point travel better than the original Starship, dubbed Earth-to-Earth by SpaceX. According to the company, the method of transportation should take 39 minutes to travel between New York City and Shanghai. Gwen Shotwell, SpaceX's president and chief operating officer, believes the cost will eventually rival that of business class travel. However, according to John Logsdon, an expert on space policy and history, point-to-point travel would require enormous acceleration rates, making it impractical. Perhaps Spaceship 2.0 will have a slower-moving variant. Who knows? Of course, this is just conjecture at this point. However, there is no denying that it is an intriguing possibility. Musk's reference to a next-generation spacecraft with a diameter twice of that of the current Starship is also in keeping with its ambitious nature. We'll have to see what happens, but Elon Musk has a well-documented history of surprising people. If you want to learn more, check out our previous videos. To get updated on Elon Musk's future plans and announcements, subscribe to us and hit the bell button. See you in the next one.